Welcome to week 11, where we look at Nietzsche's book Ecce Homo. Ecce Homo is Nietzsche's final book, and it wasn't published until 1908. It was written as a philosophy for the future, and rather like the Antichrist, it is part of his later writings, and it's part of his naysaying stage. And Nietzsche at this stage is focusing on a revaluation of values. He believes that he has discredited Christian morality and that we therefore need to look at our values and consider what values we should have. We need to revalue them. It wasn't, of course, intended to be Nietzsche's last book, and it comes at an end of a year of intense writing for Nietzsche. Nietzsche, as we saw in the last lecture, was spending much of this time writing, and in 1888 he wrote an awful lot. It was actually in December in 1888 that Ecce Homo was sent to the publishers, and at this stage there were already a lot of concerns about Nietzsche's health. He was quite isolated at this stage, but he was writing to people, and in some of these letters he claims that he was like a sick animal, and of course to others he claimed that he had never felt better. He started Ecce Homo on his 44th birthday, and he writes it quite quickly. And as we've said, it is in the December that it's sent to the publishers. But his mental breakdown happens on the 3rd of January in 1889. So he is very close to the end of his working life at this point. The title of Ecce Homo is very interesting, and it can be taken as a reference to Pontius Pilate's words on Christ, where after Christ has been scourged and he is wearing a crown of thorns, Pontius Pilate presents him to the crowd, and he says, the translation is, "Behold the man." It can also be taken as a reference to Napoleon's words on meeting Goethe, where Nietzsche says that he interprets that as, "Here is a man, whereas I expected a mere German." And of course, Nietzsche does not see himself as a mere German. He sees himself as a good European. He rejects the idea of being a mere German. The subtitle of the book is How One Becomes What One Is. And this really is the idea behind the book. And it's taken from Pindar's Pythian Odes from the 5th century, that the book is going to help us to understand how one can become what one is. So then we need to understand a little bit about what Ecce Homo is about. It's Nietzsche's autobiography by looking at his writings, and it's reminiscent of Plato's Apology, the Trial of Socrates, in that he reviews his own works and ideas, and it's really looking in many ways as Nietzsche as an educator. Now, the next two lectures are broken, of course, into two parts. The first lecture is a slightly shorter lecture where we will look at Nietzsche in how he sees himself, who he thinks he is. The final lecture, the third lecture, looks at the idea of what Nietzsche thinks we may be able to become and how we achieve that, and also looks at the idea of Nietzsche as an educator and some of the underlying ideas of how one should be educated.